Hey everyone, it's Joy here. Welcome back to my channel for another handmade Christmas video. So I have made 6 cards from the Simon Says Stamp card kit, Joy to You and Yours. I have some fun tips on the foiling with the adhesive sheets, which is brand new to me. And so I am super excited to share that with you. But again, there's 6 cards, so let's get started. So let me show you what's in the kit. Of course, you get a yummy little sucker. You have the lumberjack plaid small ink pad. You've got your Santa die. You have an envelope. You have an embossing folder, which this was a really fun card to make with you guys. I'm super excited to share that. Some gorgeous patterned paper, which I used a lot of patterned paper in this. I don't tend to use patterned paper a lot, but I did because this is so pretty. And I really love Christmas pattern paper. So it's double-sided. So again, we're going to use a few of those. Let me finish showing you that. I think there's just 1 or 2 more. But look at how pretty. You could trim those down into small little tags. You have the adhesive transfers. So we're going to be foiling with that on vellum and on acetate. Then we have some deco foil transfer sheets. Of course, this beautiful stamp set with all of those gorgeous sentiments and that beautiful image. Then there's this white velvet cardstock. Do you even call it cardstock? And then red and white cardstock. So let's get going on our first card. In my MISTI, I have a piece of the pattern paper that I trimmed down. All of my cards are A2 sized. Sometimes I trim them down a little bit smaller so I can have a mat on them, but they all are starting off at A2 sized. I am taking that beautiful image from the stamp set. This has berries, a pine cone, and of course greenery. I'm going to be stamping this with Honeybee Stamps metallic gold ink. Then we're going to be coloring with some colored pencils. I have some Prisma colored pencils that I got from Joann's, and I just grabbed some basic colors, a red, a green, and a brown, and we're just going to give a little bit of color to these images. But look at how pretty that metallic ink is. I love that this is stamped on the background of the patterned paper because I feel like it kind of makes it look like this is also part of the pattern paper. Then of course I'm going to stamp my sentiment that says Christmas greetings. This is from the stamp set in the kit. I'm going to stamp this with some black ink because I do want that to kind of pop off the background. So I'm going to get that done and then I can just trim this out with my paper trimmer. But it's a really cute sentiment. I love the little frame around the outside. I think that's just really kind of pretty and classic. And so I was really digging these sentiments and how they looked on that stamp set. Okay, let's do a little bit of coloring. There is nothing fancy here, you guys. I just felt like it needed a little something extra, and I'm coloring really lightly. I'm not heavy-handed. Usually when I color with colored pencils, I use Gamsol to kind of blend out the colored pencil strokes, but you're not even going to really notice that too much on this background. And if you do, personally, I think it's kind of part of the charm. So I'm keeping it super simple. Now I did use 2 different colors of green because I did want that kind of variety. And I am just coloring inside the lines. I'm not even being super neat about it. Like I didn't like color like crazy outside of the lines. But like I said, I just want to add a little bit of color to bring this image to life. I love it on this fun background. I think it's super pretty. I love a good striped background for Christmas. I really love it with the turquoise and red. I think that is just absolutely gorgeous. That's one of my favorite Christmas color combinations. So I definitely had to use this background for this card. I also wanted to say that this is quite a bit of a longer video than I normally do, but just remember I do have 6 cards in here. I'm showing a ton of different techniques. We will be doing foiling. We were coloring obviously with colored pencils. I'm going to be coloring with distress crayons. I cannot talk today. Copic markers. So there's a lot of different techniques going on here, so I think it's definitely worth hanging on till the end. You can just put me on while you guys are cooking or whatever, and you know, just play this video and it'll be fantastic. So I'm almost done coloring here. I'm just going to get a little bit of those last few leaves, a little bit of that pine cone. I'm kind of just highlighting some of the darker areas. I did not want to color in the light areas, otherwise I think it would have kind of erased that image. All right, let's get this card put together. So foam tape behind the sentiment, of course. If you follow me, you know I love that, and most of the time my sentiments are popped up with foam tape. I don't want to cover up that whole image. I want to definitely see the berries. I want to see that pine cone. Then I'm going to place this on some of that red cardstock. We're going to have a red mat. And then from my stash, I'm using, these are Studio Katia gold foil pearls. I really tried to minimize bringing a lot of outside products in because I was just trying to really stick with the kit. But you know, stuff like this you have in your stash. The next card, you guys, this is the cute Santa face die. I have die cut him from white cardstock, red cardstock, and that white velvet cardstock. I'm using my Copic markers in E00 and E11 for his face, and then R20 and R30 on his nose to make his nose look kind of red and his little cheeks are rosy. And I just am coloring those quickly. If you don't want to color, you just, you know, die cut from coordinating cardstock that'll match the color of Santa you want. I'm going to adhere, the little ball is the white velvet. The little furry part around his hat is the white velvet cardstock. His beard and mustache are the white velvet. And you guys, this stuff feels so fantastic. I'm feeling it as we're talking right now. Like, it is so fun. Then I'm adding a little bit more of that R20 and R30 to give him his little rosy cheeks. I'm going to add his little eyeballs back in, and I will use a black glaze pen to add some color to that. And then I decided I want his, first, let's get his beard down. I also wanted to say really quick, there are these cute like little sparkling effects that are die cut from his hat, his face, and his beard. I die cut those from white cardstock as well, not the velvet, because I want to color those. I am adding a little bit of foam tape under his mustache to give him a more of a 3D look. Then I can finish placing his little beard. There's a little side piece there. And then I can place in those little star features, again from regular white cardstock, because I want to color them. So I colored them with a Spectrum Noir spun gold pen, just to add, number one, a different color, and it just gold and sparkly. So I just felt like it was just going to pop out. And I just think, what a cute little feature on that die. I just liked that little extra. I like little extra things like that. Then here is that black glaze pen. Oh, excuse me, a little white gel pen highlights on his hat. Then the the black glaze pen. I cannot get it together. And I'm just being really careful because a black glaze pen kind of, in a good way, kind of floods out the ink. So be really careful so it doesn't get onto his face where you don't want it. All right, in my MISTI, I am stamping the sentiment that says Merry and Bright. It's a nice big large sentiment on some more of that patterned paper. And then another little sentiment at the bottom. This is, may the Christmas season bring you happiness and joy. One thing I really love about Simon Says Stamp is when they make these really small sentiments, I really love how they look. I love their font, and I love how tiny they are. Like, I love their like tiny words sentiment stamps. I think they're so fantastic. And so that long sentiment reminds me of that. Some foam tape behind Santa, and we're just going to place him right in the center. And then with my scratch paper that has my Santa cut out, so that way I can use all the paper I need to, I'm going to add a red mat behind this, and then that will go on an A2 size card as well, which we will do kind of at the end. All right, this next card is super simple, you guys. I did add some fun little extra details that you probably wouldn't notice unless you watched me do it, but I think it's so worth it. So again, the sentiment is awesome. Joy to you and yours. I'm going to use that metallic ink. You could also do some heat embossing, but this is really thin patterned paper. So I think this metallic ink is perfect so your paper just doesn't warp at all. Not that it's a big deal or the end of the world if it does, but I think it's fantastic that it doesn't. Some old school aging with that metallic pen. Metallic ink, not metallic pen. I'm just gently rubbing it on the edges of my cardstock just to give it that metallic gold look. Then I'm bringing in that Spectrum Noir spun gold pen. I'm adding some details to the flowers at the bottom, to the little candy pieces, just to give them a little bit of extra shimmer and shine. So when you kind of move this card in the light, there's a little pop of something. I also decided to use my white gel pen to add a little something. What I like about this card, I will say, is it's a 1-layer card. So super simple, especially if you guys like the 1 layers. This is a great way to do it, just by adding your sentiment to a fun patterned paper. Here's my white gel pen. I'm adding some dots to all of the polka dots, so I just felt like that was adding a little bit more interest. And then I'm going to add some little shine marks on the background on some of the colored areas here. So a lot of fun and really kind of simple and easy. So I think this card could be for everybody. So there's some of that detail right there. And this is a complete A2 size that will be attached to an A2 card base. All right, next card. Here is that embossing folder. So it has all of this greenery. I did spritz my white cardstock with a little bit of water, and look at how gorgeous that is. Okay, so my original idea, you guys, was to use the distress crayons. I am using Peppermint Stick, Tree Lot, and Crooked Broomstick. And I'm adding some water here because I thought that when I laid down some of this color that I was going to blend it out with a paintbrush because they are water reactive. But as soon as I put the color on these little pine needles, I was like, I am not adding any water to it. I loved how it looked. This was so fun to color. It really was quite, it's super easy, a little time consuming because you want to be careful to not really get on your background, but it just, these colors so nice, and the color comes off so quick, and those embossed areas just kind of grabs it. So I'm going to color all of these little pine needles with this green color. This is the Tree Lot. Then the Peppermint Stick for all the little berries that are on the background. And that red is so pretty, and I love it against this stark white background. I just think it is so stunning. And then the Crooked Broomstick for the few pine cones that are on this background. And so for the pine cones, I flipped my card stock around, so it's kind of upside down, and I brushed against the image. I think I flipped around. If I didn't, I still brushed against the image, if that makes sense. So that way the little lips of the edges of the pine cone would just catch that color, and it totally worked perfect. So yeah, I did not flip it. I'm going from top down instead of from bottom up, which I would normally color. So I'm going from top down. I totally thought I flipped it around, but obviously I did not. But look at how pretty this is, you guys. I am in love with that, and it was super easy to do. Okay, now we have our sentiment that we're going to stamp with some red ink. We're using the Lumberjack Plaid Distress ink that came in the kit, and this sentiment says, "Wishing you a joyful Christmas." I did not want to do a super large sentiment. I actually went through 2 other sentiments. I went through a really big one and then a really small one, and then I came up with this medium one, and this was perfect. The small one was getting lost in the background, and the big one was covering up too much of the background. I just thought this was super, super gorgeous. So I trimmed that out with my paper trimmer. I am going to trim this down. This is like a 1/16 of an inch on all sides, and I'm going to add a small red mat to that, and then it will be on top of a white card base. You'll be able to see that too, so it'll have like a red mat and a white mat. Let's add foam tape behind this sentiment, and then I'm going to use some more of those gold foil pearls from Studio Katia. But I love how this turned out. So let's add those. I'm going to use my embellishment wand and my Barely Art liquid glue. I do want to lay them out first, just so I have an idea of exactly how I want them. And I'm just going to use a few, but I think it really added a little extra something to this card. And that gold kind of broke up all of the other colors that are on here. Okay, you guys, here's to the fun stuff. These are the adhesive transfers. So there is a backing to this that you're going to peel off. So first of all, you want to trim out your image that you want to use. So this is a 2-step process. When you are doing it on vellum and acetate, you should use the Mink machine. If you're just doing it on regular cardstock, you can just use your die cut machine. So I have my ink machine out. I have some pattern paper, I have my piece of vellum, and I have my piece of acetate, and I'm just kind of laying out my design. So one of these on the piece of vellum will have a wreath and the Merry Christmas sentiment, and then the other one on the acetate will have some flowers, and it says have a Merry Christmas, like long sentiment. I did cut out a different Christmas sentiment, but I kind of pulled off some of the adhesive, so I had to use something else. So there's a few tips here. First of all, I'm really quite special because for some reason in my brain, I thought that the black was going to come off onto the background. It does not. So we're going to peel off this back piece, and behind that it's going to be a tad bit sticky, and it has your adhesive, so be careful to not put your fingers all over it. Place it on your cardstock or your vellum or your acetate. Mine's on a piece of acetate. It just has the backing paper behind it right now, which I will remove in just a minute. I am going to peel the backing off of my wreath and place that at the top. And this one I could have done the sentiment as well, but I, was new to this, so I was just doing one image at a time. So now I'm going to turn on my ink machine. I'm turning it on to 5. I'm going to put this in my carrier sheet and then run this through. So what we're doing now is getting the adhesive from the image onto our work surface. So again, this is a 2-step process. We're getting our adhesive off. The black ink does not come off, FYI. I thought I did something wrong. So when you peel it back when it's done, you are just going to see a clear film in that design. So that's the adhesive that the foil is going to stick to. So when I first pulled this out, I'm like, holy crap, what'd I do wrong? I did nothing wrong. I just was being really special for about 15 minutes, if I'm being totally transparent. I'm like, oh my gosh, I ruined things. Oh no, I really love this design. I just want to do it. So peel it back, you'll see a little bit of that adhesive. Then I figured it out. So now I'm putting my foil on top of my adhesive. I'm doing red for the flowers on the acetate, and then I'm going to do gold for the wreath on my vellum. So you're going to have the foil shiny side up on top of the sticky part that's on your cardstock or whatever you're using. Putting that through the ink machine one more time, and then when we peel this back, you guys, it is so pretty. Okay, look at how gorgeous that is. I love it. So then we're still going to do the sentiments on this as well. So let me peel back this. And that's on that piece of acetate. Isn't that fantastic? Okay, so here's the sentiment. I peeled the backing off and now I'm lining it up. So here's another tip. Don't stick it down and try to take it up again, because that's what I accidentally did with my first sentiment that was going on this. I accidentally did that, and it shifted some of the adhesive, so it wasn't in the right spot and it wasn't going to look good. So be careful of that. Line it up hovering above your work surface and then adhere it down. So again, we're running that through to get the adhesive to stick to our cardstock. We peel off that front piece, and then there we have our adhesive, and now we can apply the foil once more. So I'm going to alternate the foil. On this flowered one, I'm going to do a gold piece of foil, and on the wreath one, I'm going to do a red piece of foil for the sentiments. So I'm going to put that in my carrier sheet. Here is that red foil. Again, this comes in the kit. It's really fantastic. This is the deco foil. And I'm going to put that in place and put that in my carrier sheet and then run that through the ink machine one more time. Let's peel it back because I think it is so satisfying. Look at that gorgeous sentiment. Number one, I love the font on that too. It's so pretty. And then it's in that fun Christmas red. It's just gorgeous. And then here's that other sentiment. It's a long sentiment strip. I was making sure that it was all good, and I didn't show you, but you could see it on the side. Okay, I have my pieces of patterned paper trimmed to an A2 size, and one of them a little bit smaller. I'm adding dots of glue hiding behind all of the foil, and they are really small dots of glue. That first card, my vellum is trimmed slightly smaller than my patterned paper, which I really like. to have that. Then my acetate, I use the same glue to adhere behind the flowers and the sentiments. I will be using some, I think these are honeybee stamps. Oh, Make It Merry gem stickers. So I'm going to add those red ones to the leaf, to the wreath, not the leaf. And that gives it a fun little pop of color on top. And that beautiful poinsettia patterned paper behind it is just so, so stunning. Then on the Have a Merry Christmas background, I'm going to add more of those gold foil pearls. I'm going to add those on some of those dot areas and to the centers of the flowers, just to bring a little something extra. I'm not adding it to all of the dots. I wanted to keep some of those red dots. And this again is on the acetate piece over a piece of patterned paper that is trimmed slightly smaller than an A2 size card base. And what I like about, even though this is not going to lift up, the acetate's not going to lift off the background, I like it because it makes it the whole thing shiny. I am going to pop it up with some low profile foam tape, and then the other one is just going to be adhered to a white A2 size card base. Let's adhere this little guy. I did decide to have a red mat behind it, but this is going to be slightly bigger than the background because I still wanted to see the white card panel. So again, you're going to have a red mat and then a white mat. And I had to get some more adhesive because I ran out right in the middle. Don't you know, it always works that way. Never at the beginning. It's always in the middle. So see, you have the red and white mat. Then we can adhere this one. This is just a complete A2 size, so it'll cover that whole card base. This one will be, you know, about a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the card base. And let's finish adhering that one. And then let's take a look at all of these guys. So this is the one we did the colored pencils with and the metallic ink on patterned paper. Then we have our cute little die cut Santa. Oh my gosh, he's so fun with that velvet cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. This is the one layer card with the sentiment stamped on the background and a little bit of detail with a spun gold pen and a white gel pen. Our embossing folder background with the distressed crayons turned out gorgeous. And then of course we have our foiled backgrounds using the new adhesive sheets. I just think these are so much fun to use. I definitely want to get more. But look at how gorgeous that is against that pattern paper. That one is my favorite card out of all of these. And then here's this one on the acetate. It is so much fun. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you had, or hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you have a really Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank you guys again for all of your support. And I will be back soon with another video. Bye.